Commissioners, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Madison, Figueroa Villa, Kim, and Saltzman are present, and we have a quorum. Number one on the agenda, Commission comments.
I have a statement I'd like to read just in terms of protocol. As we begin our meeting today, I'd like to remind all that the time limit to speak on any item is 2 minutes. If you are speaking on an item other than general public comment, please keep your comments on the topic of the item. If you go off topic, I will ask you to get back on topic. If you do not do so, you will forfeit the remainder of your time on that item. Please be respectful of each speaker's comments and adhere to the 2-minute time limit. The Commission does want to hear your comments. However, I will maintain order and ask that you respect each other in this Commission. I request that there be no applause or yelling out during comments of speakers or during the meeting. If the meeting becomes disruptive, I will call a recess, and those who are disruptive will be escorted out of the meeting so that we can resume for those who are not being disruptive. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number two, the report.
Sorry, I do have one comment. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge the reception held by the Commission and the Department a couple weeks ago on behalf of the LGBT employees, both sworn and civilian, in the department. It was a big success. The first time, I believe, that has happened. And thank Commissioner Madison in particular for her leadership on that issue, and look forward to that happening again in future years. In addition, Sunday was the Gay Pride Parade, and there was a particularly good turnout of employees from the department, again, both sworn and civilian, a significant increase over prior years. And I appreciate that very much, and appreciate the work that went into that, the department and many others. Also thank my colleagues who were there, Commissioner Figueroa Villa and Commissioner Madison, and want to acknowledge the great work, I think, being done within the department at the Chief's direction by Chief Kamala and Ian Lewis in the Community Relations Department, along with many other employees. But I think we are seeing tremendous progress, and I appreciate it and look forward to it continuing, and thank my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have two public comment cards on this item. We have Mr. Herman and Mr. Hunt.
We're on item one here this morning, and I just want to bring out that the most current events are spectacular. Good thing that we have our Fourth Amendments respected here at all times, regarding no state or local government shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of any citizen, these privileges or immunities, nor deprive any person consideration of life, liberty, or property without due process. And I won't engage too long on my time, Ms. Madison. You made it very clear that we're subjected to a time frame to stay within the subject of matter and material. But again, the ruling under policy in regards to Ezell Ford, I want to say thank all of you commissioners for making the right decision. Enforce policy, educate all our officers with adequate training and purpose and meaningful purpose, meaning that no one should be subjected to crime, especially those who are disabled. See, I don't have to read my notes. I'm speaking directly to you, commissioners. And Mr. Tiefenk, thank you, by the way, for defending me up there at City Hall under public safety when Mitch Englander was conducting business without a quorum. I find that very offensive. But yet, I'm always challenged by disrespect, harassment, and harassment. And I find that unconstitutional, violation of the state regulations under state constitution. And more so, is it really that disrespectful just to come here and petition on behalf of African Americans, minorities who are subjected to crime and violence in the city of Los Angeles? I hold that for the record against you, Mayor Eric Garcetti. Thank you.
Thank you.
morning.
Morning.
I want to talk about the landmark case, Hunt versus the City of Los Angeles, the right to due process. Being processed under the law, under the umbrella of a LAMC code, which was first and foremost unconstitutional, which may not mean a lot to you guys, but mean a lot to me. I became a Ninth Circuit winner with the right to due process, and I still find LAPD processing the law arbitrarily, capriciously, and facetiously. When will it ever stop? The buck stops right here. I'm calling for Chief Beck to resign and all the commissioners to bring back the federal consent decree. If you shoot somebody, you need the federal consent decree. You need federal guidelines. That's only obvious. You beat Rodney King. This is just not an aberration. This is not the first time you guys shot somebody. So my request is that you bring back the federal consent decree immediately, and all the commissioners up here are responsible for bringing that back, getting a fair investigation with the Constitution by an impartial jury like the Warren Commission. Please bring the federal consent decree back immediately.
Thank you. Item number 2, report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. We made significant progress on Part 1 crime last week. As you know, for the past month, we've been in the 13 percentile bracket of increase. We managed to reduce that by a full 0.5 percentage. In just a couple of weeks' time, we're at 12.7%. Homicides are still down in the city. We've had 111 so far compared to 126. By comparison, last year, that's a 12% reduction. Shots fired in the city are up 21%. Numbers of victims shot up approximately 20%. Those numbers are certainly a dramatic increase over last year, but to put them in perspective, they're about the same level as 2011, particularly in total Part 1 crime. For total violent crime, 22.5% increase over last year, again at 2011 levels. Total property crime, a 10.5% increase. Gang crime, we made some progress on gang crime. Last week it was at mid-20 percentile, and this week we're at 20.7% increase. Gang homicides are down in the city about 16%. Traffic collisions are up in the city, 11% increase in traffic collisions. Serious traffic collisions, however, are down. Traffic collisions that result in injury or death are down 5.9%. To give some context to that, we've had 71 people killed in traffic accidents in the city of Los Angeles this year, as compared to 74 last year and 77 in the year prior. About half of those traffic collision deaths are pedestrians. 36 pedestrians have been killed in traffic collisions, one of the reasons that the LAPD enforces pedestrian violations so vigorously. Personnel statistics, we have 9,884 Los Angeles police officers. We started a class that is near 50, so we are heartened by that. That's the largest class that we've started over the last couple of years, so that's a good thing. We have 2,704 civilian personnel, but we have 573 vacancies on the civilian side of the house. We have just over 400 reserve officers, 371 specialists, volunteers, 61 chaplains, and 6,183 cadets. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. We do have 3 public comment cards on this item. We have Najee Ali, Mr. Herman, and Mr. Hunt.
Good morning, Chief Beck, members of the commission and staff. My name is Najee Ali. I'm the political director of the National Action Network, and today I'm speaking on behalf of every major South LA civil rights organization, from the LA NAACP to the LA Urban League to the SCLC and LA Urban Policy Roundtable. When we say that at the end of the day, we may not always agree with Chief Beck, but we're not calling for your resignation. We support you, even though we may not agree with you on every issue. So I want to make that clear. And we are part of the tried and true tested leadership from South LA. So that being said, in my closing comments, I do want to commend the police commissioners for their courage and conviction for voting their conscience last week. So on behalf of our coalition of South LA civil rights leaders, we do have what we call certificates of courage for each commissioner, because we know you have a tough job, and you probably have the toughest job of any city commissioner. So thank you for all that you do. I think it's very important that the community know at the end of the day, we support the police department and the good officers that do work. We just don't support officers who do things to harm people in our community that the commission finds out of policy. So with that, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Herman and Mr. Hunt. Mr. Herman and Mr. Pike Bone.
Let's go, Mr. Herman.
Why do so many observers refer to persons that have disabilities, visible disabilities, as victims of physical abuse, violence, and intimidation? Because such disabilities can be invisible to foresight. But again, they're never reported. And usually the Inspector General or the Attorney General never investigate this federal mandate that Crime Victims with Disability Awareness Act should be enforced. And the LAPD should be adequately trained to cover the responsibility of any person whose violence due to his disability is a problem with the actions of policy, the charter of the City of Los Angeles, and more so, state constitution. But again, here's an example of what I speak about when you talk about disabilities. Mr. Mitch Englander of the 12th District, who's running as ELF for the liberation of Forum for county supervisor, that is a visible disability. He has very large protruding ears. It's a visible disability. Although he doesn't listen to the public's interests and concerns when it comes to awareness. Yes, awareness. I bring this out because, again, we usually discriminate against people just by first look or how they're dressed or what they say, or they make their funny little comment, choo-choo. We should never discriminate against anyone, any person, but allow the adequate time to convince you that, again, the City of Los Angeles is racist, harasses people of minority.
From here on out, I like to follow the Brown Act, the speaker names that's on the card. I want to talk a little bit about tickets, statistics. 5 tickets in one day. It's a fucking train wreck with Charlie Bag. The reason why I say that, these tickets are actually, you don't watch my language, this is free speech. This is the United States of America. This is what this is all about. This is what the GARF's about, because the white people hate the black people. It's a train wreck with Chief Charlie Beck right here. 5 tickets for being a 9th Circuit winner up under the federal statute. We are getting ready to have a jury trial for a $100 ticket that's costing the city $120,000. What kind of sense do that fucking make? And the reason why I say that is because this has been time and time and time have we repeated this again. Arbitrarily, capriciously, and facetiously waste the tax people's money. And what do you guys do? All is well. Everybody that's sitting down here pays some kind of taxes. So we have a $100 ticket that's costing the city 3 attorneys, a courtroom, a jury, for what? Working? Now you know that's racist. Because the train wreck is still here. And you guys haven't even did anything about it. Go out and investigate it. Do this, do that. Because you know what? You guys don't give a goddamn. You guys really don't care. And this is why we have a train wreck. This is why we're having people getting killed. This is why we have this, because the books have not been updated. Bring back the Federal Century Guidelines for Los Angeles Police Department. Thank you, Mr. Pike Bone.
Okay, we have one more card. We have Mr. Prentice Jenkins.
A little show and tell here.
Officer Henry Solis has been on the run and wanted for murder. Police say Solis gunned down 23-year-old Salome Rodriguez in Pomona near 3rd and Main Streets after a fist fight at a bar. CBS 2's Crystal Cruz joins us live with reactions from Rodriguez's family. Crystal.
Hi, Paul. Right behind me is Salome Jr.'s mother. The media has showed up here. They're already starting to talk to her. You can see her right there on the porch of Salome's home. Now, she told me on Friday she put out a prayer request on social media asking for an arrest. And here it is just a few days later. She says it appears her prayers haven't been answered. Now, here's a photo of Henry Solis, a former LAPD officer and Marine. Federal officials say Solis fled to Mexico with the help of his father. Now, sources are saying Solis has been caught across the border. Solis is accused of shooting and killing Salome in Pomona March 13th. That's 2 months ago. The victim's mother, Lydia Rodriguez, says tonight she is thanking God for what she is calling a speedy
This dude
arrest.
walked up on his L4. These cops walked up on his L4 like this man walked up on this man, Henry Solis, and shot him to death. He did not know him. He just said, hey, I'm going to shoot this fool.
We just did this
and killed him.
prayer.
Just like that, murdered. I told you before he did this, you had murdering cops. You had psychotic cops suffering post-traumatic stress disorder. And they're murdering cops. This proves my allegations that you do have murdering cops.
Salome's mother
And
says
guess
she has
what?
a lot
Henry
of questions
Solis
for
ain't the last
Henry
one.
Solis. One of those questions
You got
being
more
she
in
just
there.
wants to know what happened the night her son
These
was
guys may
killed.
all be
Reporting
part
live
of
in
the
Ontario,
90%,
Crystal
and they may be part of that
CBS
10%. We don't know. All we know is this, that this man, Henry Solis, murdered this man for no reason whatsoever. They said it was a fist fight. There was no fist fight. He followed it out and shot him. Right. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Item number 3, report of the Executive Director, Mr. T. Fank.
Good morning, Madam Vice President, members of the Commission. 2 brief items. First, there will be no Commission meeting next week due to a lack of quorum, so our next meeting will be after today. It will be on June 30th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. And the next item, item 8A, the CPAP presentation has been removed from the agenda at the Department's request and will reschedule at a future date. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. We do have 2 public comment cards. We have Mr. Herman and Mr. Michael Hunt.
Good morning. As we all heard, and it's a fact that Mr. T. Fank has made us aware that, yes, there has been a deferred or a postponement of these public safety commission meetings held at LA. Usually it's in best interest that the public be aware that you should attend these meetings to hear how the actions of your hardworking tax dollars are being put into use. As Mr. T. Fank and I are very aware that these safety commission meetings update us to facts about how the chief of police is spending money, good money of the people, for cameras. Also, it applies to how the use of enforcement, certain criteria of arbitration by settlements, case by case. I can't disagree any better, Mr. T. Fank, that these safety commissions are very important, and they do add to the quality of life of the United States and in the state of California. It expands the rationale of the public seeing that there's usually maybe one person at the public meeting on public safety at City Hall. There should be more people attending these meetings so that you can report some of the actions under public comment, usually for 1 minute, held by Reserve Officer Mitch Englander, who's running for county supervisor, known as ALF. But to no discredit, I just want to say to you, Mr. T. Fank, you're aware of the situations held at these public safety meetings. I'm looking forward that you will engage the public more on a calendar, have transparency, and make that commission aware up there that they shouldn't be denying us public time and hold to a forum. Thank you.
Thank you again. Mr. Michael Hunt here. I want to talk about a little bit about T-Pain. He's been here with the Board of Commissions when they were over there across the street. He's done a very good job in some areas and continue to do a good job in other areas. My main concern is that you bring the commission up to power and that you guys make right decisions for the people, because we are the police commission. It's people like me, people like them who make you guys. Without us, there's no you guys. And that's what the police commission's about. Public speaking, getting a chance to speak, opportunity to voice their opinion in the right way and even in the wrong way sometimes. But I think more outreach, more community outreach should be done. I think that you should talk to the people more. I think that you should take survey cards finding out how we can improve the police commission. Thank you, Michael Hunt.
Thank you. Item number 4 of the agenda, the report of the Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have nothing to report today.
Okay, we do have 2 public comment cards. We have Mr. Herman and Mr. Pike.
Inspector General, I plead to you on behalf of the public, on my knees, because again, in my hand I have C-153197, the Office of the City Attorney, and again I have C-154629 from the City of the Attorney, Mike Fuhr, and then again I have in my wallet an issue regarding the violence of Paul Koretz, who struck me at a meeting on June 4th in 2014 regarding CF number 14001646. How many times are you going to deny the fact that there's a problem, an ongoing problem? And that problem pertains to people who have and live with a disability, that this action of enforcement disregards towards a person with a disability. Maybe I'm not Mr. Ford, but who's to say that I am? Again, it's all perceived under the assumption, but then again, it's all about due process, Mr. Inspector General. I demand you continue the investigations on the inappropriateness of public officials who use their administrative bad judgment to grab people off a podium because they cannot accept criticism. And critical criticism means, yes, you will be subjected by the public. First Amendment, Dean Ferguson, federal ruling, Zuma dog, hootie-hoo, versus the City of Los Angeles in 2012. But this has to do with myself, a lack of the Inspector General to investigate and in a timely manner, not 8 months later to say you've been denied by Mike Fuhrer. Thank you. Choo, choo, choo.
All aboard again, Mr. Pike speaking. Mr. Inspector General, I find that it's hard for Internal Affairs to come up with any fair and impartial rulings. I challenge you, Mr. General Inspector, to find out why they wrote "fuck white niggers" on a t-shirt issued by the city of Los Angeles. Why that I have a ticket, 542.15 tickets in one day. I challenge you to go out and investigate and come up with your own opinion that's not the same as Internal Affairs, because they don't go out and investigate. They just talk to you, and then they tell you 1 year later, oh, yeah, they send you a letter. We did the investigation, but nothing ever gets done. It's the same old thing. Time after time after time, it's the same old thing. And I wonder why. Now, when Andre Barak was Inspector General, he went out and did a foot inspection, a foot engagement. He did a very thoroughly investigation. I'm challenging you to all my complaints at the Internal Affairs Office to come over to your office and give me a respectable decision on why, after Chief Charlie Beck came out of the mayor's house and said that we're not going to do all these tickets. We're not going to do all these tickets. We're going to cut down on all the bullshit. But the bullshit is still going on. You know why? Because we have an insider. This is why we brought in Chief Tom Bratton, because there ain't no clicks. This guy is so old, there's nothing but clicks. Give me a fair and impartial inspection from the Inspector General's office on all these tickets. Is that asking too much?
We do have one more card. We have Mr. Prentice Jenkins.
If not, Chief Charlie Beck, I'm a supporter of yours. Got another show and tell here.
With an LAPD officer under arrest accused of an unthinkable crime, molesting 2 children under the age of 10. That officer in question is a 6-year veteran of the force and a father himself. KTLA's Doug Kolk live in Passaic tonight. Doug? Well, good evening, Micah. And I had more than one neighbor approach me and tell me that they're absolutely blown away by these allegations. But of course, nobody in this neighborhood really knew the suspect that well, and that is because he only bought this house about 5 weeks ago. But neighbors do tell me he moved in with a wife and 3 kids.
I can't believe it was just 4 houses down.
There are shockwaves of disbelief tonight throughout an entire Castaic neighborhood.
You live in this quiet neighborhood, that's 3 houses down from you. It's kind of hard to swallow.
Over the arrest of their neighbor, an LAPD officer, a family man, 28-year-old Miguel Schiappa-Pietra.
To hear that he's LAPD, I come from a family of LAPD. My father's retired LAPD, and just a sad story.
Schiappa-Pietra, seen here with 2 of his 3 young children, is accused of molesting 2 children under the age of 10. He was arrested Saturday at his Branch Road home and booked at the Santa Clarita Sheriff's Substation.
I got kids of my own.
Neighbor Tim Rossi tells us Schiappa-Pietra moved in with his family about 5 weeks ago.
Been going for a while. So when I say, Chief Charlie Beck, a supporter of yours, I want you to stay chief. I believe you're the best chief we ever had. But when I say you got 10% that are crazy, it's time for you to root them out. And it's time for the commission to listen too. I want to say that I support police officers because I couldn't do their job. Somebody's got to do the job. I'm not going to do it. I'm not brave enough.
Thank you. We're now on item number 5. Item number 5 consists of information items and filed items relative to noise variances and special event permits submitted for the period ending June 12, 2015. Item number 6, presentations. Do we have any presentations?
None today.
Thank you. Item number 7, consent agenda items. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion 7A through 7F?
I move approval of items 7A through 7F.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now on item number 8, regular agenda items. Item 8A has been removed. We do have a comment card for 8F and 8G by Mr. Jenkins. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion?
Move approval of items 8B, 8C, 8D, and 8E.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 8F, Prentice Jenkins.
On 8F, I also would like to hear from the department.
Madam President, would you like to hear from the department before the public speaker?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Mr. Jenkins, after the department speaks, you'll be able to talk, sir.
Item number 8F, Department's report dated June 9, 2015, relative to the bias policing update, first quarter 2015 report to the Board of Police Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Commander Stuart Maislin, Internal Affairs Group. This report is our first quarter bias policing report for 2015. And briefly, what's new in this report is what's really not in this report. As you know, previously we provided complaint data, bias policing complaint data based upon cases closed during the quarter. And in the last couple of reports, we started to get away from that and provide current information based upon when the complaints were initiated during the quarter. So with the exception of what we have in here, which is Table 6, which is information on complaints closed, the other info that we previously provided, we didn't provide this time because I think we're giving you better data that you find more useful. And since I'm talking about Table 6, the adjudication results of bias policing complaints during the quarter, I think it's expected unfounded complaints, which were normally in the mid-80 percentile, are now down about 78%, and I think that's directly correlated with the increase in complaints that are mediated, going through the bias policing mediation program. So there's no other real surprises there, not resolves, and insufficient evidence to adjudicate complaints are fairly consistent and have been over the years. As far as the rest of the data goes, if you look at the number of complaints initiated so far this year during the first quarter anyway, the number is 46. That projects out to about 184 per year. That seems a little bit low. Previous low was 192 in 2013. And when you compare that to the other couple of years in the report, that number really seemed like an anomaly. So we can't say if it's how it's going to look at the end of the year, but I think we'll have a better idea come the end of the first quarter. Now, also new in this report is on page 2, we broke down the number of bias policing complaints by geographic bureau, and we haven't previously provided that data. And if you look at the percentage, really, of the bureaus by the number or the percentage of the patrol force, the results really aren't startling. And you really have to take into account, this is the Bureau of Occurrence, but it really does correlate for the most part to patrol. And if you look at the fact that there are 5 areas in Central Bureau, there are 4 areas, stations in South Bureau, 7 in the Valley, and 5 in the West, that really breaks down to 24% of the department in Central and West Bureaus, 19% in South Bureau, and 33% in Valley Bureau. So the West is really a little bit underrepresented in bias policing complaints, 17.4% versus their 24% of the city. And Central Bureau is a little bit high at 28% versus 24%. The South and Valley really are kind of the same as their representation. Table 1, accused employees by gender and ethnicity, as well as their age and length of service. Females are underrepresented as accused officers. They're only 9.7%, while they comprise 18.8% of the department. And ethnicity is roughly similar, except for African Americans, who are 4.2% of accused and 11% of the department. There's really nothing noteworthy about age and length of service. Accused employees are in their 30s with less than 10 years of service. As far as Table 2, types of contact or encounter, there's really no significant differences from prior years. Traffic stops are number 1, ped stops are number 2, and radio calls are the third most complained about types of contact. In Table 3, the discriminatory conduct alleged, again, similar. Stops and detentions are number 1. Whether an officer was discourteous or rude is number 2, and the actual arrest itself is number 3. And the type of bias alleged, by far, the number 1 type of bias alleged is an ethnic bias, and that's just overwhelmingly number 1 at 87% this year, 84% last year, and 84.7% the previous year. And if you look at the complainant ethnicity, tables 2, 3, and 4, we have that information there as well. Black males comprise about 43.5% of the complainants this year, 50% last year, and 43% the previous year, so that's fairly consistent. Traffic and ped stops are the most frequent type of law enforcement encounter complained about. The stop or arrest is the highest discourteous conduct alleged, and ethnic bias, again, the overwhelming favorite for the type of bias alleged. And Table 5, the comparison of ethnicities of the accused versus complainants, that remains. And we only looked at ethnic bias complaints for that information. And black complainants are accusing Hispanic and white employees of bias policing allegations. As far as complaints referred to OO, there's really nothing unusual this year. The mediation program, we had 46 total complaints. 26 were not eligible for the program. 20 were eligible, and of that 20, 14 had to be reassigned for investigation. And of the 14, 1 employee declined. 12 were the complainants either declined or we were not able to contact them, and 1 I believed was inappropriate for the program. We have 10 currently in the hopper, 10 cases waiting mediation. And the surveys are kind of interesting, although we had only 3 mediations where we received survey results. But 2 out of the 3 complainants were somewhat dissatisfied, whereas all the employees that were surveyed were very or somewhat satisfied. But interesting, even though the complainants were somewhat dissatisfied, everybody would be willing, everybody said it was fair or somewhat fair or completely fair, and all would be very likely or somewhat likely to recommend the mediation process, with 1 exception, and who said that they were not likely at all to recommend it. So the mediation program is still a work in process, and we intend to move forward with it. And actually, I talked about last time expanding it to minor complaints of discourtesy, and we still have to meet and confer with the Protective League on that, so it hasn't happened yet. As far as educating the department, our compliance with the e-learning increased from 52% to 80%. And as far as evaluating the program, USC professor we've been working with is in the final stages of his implementation study, and we're still seeking grant funding to expand that to do a comprehensive evaluation of the program. But we don't have the funding for that yet. So that's kind of the report in a nutshell, and if I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you.
1 comment and then just a couple questions. The comment, just want to thank you. I think it's a good report. It's helpful. It's clear. You've responded in many ways to the questions we've asked, and I appreciate that. I know a lot of work goes into it. So I want to thank you for that, Commander Maslin. The 2 questions. 1, I remember a discussion a couple years back, I think, maybe even a little more than that, with Commander Rick Webb, your predecessor, I believe, in this position.
That's correct.
In which he talked to us about the training that was happening with the captains. And I'm just curious, given the number of new captains we have, if you could talk to us a little bit about the training that you're providing or that's being provided for those new command level folks as they move up into new positions.
Okay, well, we do actually a couple of things, and we get 2 full days at the Command Development Program, which is basically captain school or school for those that are on the list to be captains. So we have captains that have already been promoted and lieutenants that are sitting and waiting, and we provide 2 full days. I mean, we are educating them about the Board of Rights process for one, because that's a new thing that they'll experience, and the other is on complaint, particularly on complaint adjudications, because that's a problematic area sometimes. And we've just recently in PSB put together a half-day training, which we're taking on the road to each of we're starting with the geographic bureaus. We've done one so far, that being in Valley Bureau, and that's a 4-hour block. 2 hours of that is on boards of rights, and there's another hour to hour and a half on the most common problems with adjudications, and we're training, trying to provide some updated information on the problems that we see, what we're providing to their subordinates, and how they need to get involved more in the process and really own the adjudications of all complaints. And bias policing, of course, is a big one there. So we've done one bureau. We're in the process of scheduling the other 3 geographic bureaus, and then we'll hit the rest of the department.
Great. Thank you. And then just last question on, it's really the first page of the report. Above the heading toward the bottom of the page, data, there's a discussion in the report about our discussion from March 24th relating to some of the specific questions that we asked about. And I just was curious if you or the Inspector General could give us a sense of the timing and when we're likely to hear just basically a status of that report.
Well, after the last meeting, it's my understanding that an Assistant Inspector General, Kevin Rogan, took it to his boss and then made contact with Commissioner Madison on that, because it was really her questions that prompted that, and where they volunteered to do it and wanted to do that review. And since then, I don't have an update. Perhaps the Inspector General does.
Thank you.
We've met with and talked with a couple of commissioners and given an update on the status of that. We're still collecting data at this point, but I expect that we would have some of the data, whatever it would spell out, and be able to present something to the commission in the next couple months, I imagine.
Okay. Thank you very much. That answers my questions.
Any other questions?
No, just I just want to share a comment echoing Commissioner Saltzman's earlier statement that I really appreciate this detail in this report and breaking out the tables in the manner that you did, and so I thank you for that, and I'm looking forward to whatever evaluation comes forward and whatever outcomes can be determined based on this kind of analysis.
Right. Thank you.
And let me just say, Commander, I'm very grateful, too, for the report and the clarity, the kind of information that you're providing to us, because I think it is much simpler and easier for us to follow. And I also commend you for the progress being made in the mediation program. I think that's real measurable progress that I think all of us are really happy to see. So thank you. And thank you, Chief, for supporting the entire initiative.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We do have one public comment card, and we have Mr. Prentice Jenkins.
Sergeant Jim Parker recorded the conversation on his own personal audio recorder.
This is about Sergeant Jim Parker. He's an openly gay police officer. I'm here advocating a straight man on his behalf. I'm asking you, Chief Beck, not to fire this man. This is a good cop. When he went up to these people, he didn't beat them, he didn't shoot them. he made sure that the department was insulated. He was insulated in terms of having a lawsuit. He stopped the department from having a lawsuit. And now he's being investigated. Here's a man who saved the department money. These other cops shot Africa. They shot Brendan Glenn, killed him. This man saved the department money, and they're investigating him. If you fire Sergeant Jim Parker, what you'll be doing is actually you'll be establishing Christopher Dorner's claim that you get rid of good cops and you promote bad cops. You'll establish that man's claim. So I'm here advocating for Sergeant Jim Parker. Do not fire Jim Parker. If he's fired, the lesbian and gay and bisexual and transgender community should be down here in this meeting opposing that firing. So all I want to say is please do not fire the good cops. Get rid of the bad ones, the ones that like to kill people, the ones that have bad days at home fighting with their wives and then come by and pow, pow. I'm killing somebody. He can't kill his wife, so I will kill Ezell Ford or Africa or Brendan Glenn. You know, all three of those guys are dead, minding their own business. They weren't robbing anybody. They weren't carjacking. They were just standing around minding their own business.
Move approval of item 8F.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed.
Thank you. Item number 8G, pulled by comment card.
And I also would like to hear from the department on 8G. Thank you.
Department's report dated June 12, 2015, relative to the complaint process audit, AD number 14-028.
Good morning, Commissioners. Police Performance Auditor Jeffrey Phillips, Officer in charge of the Audit Division. Commissioners, before you have the complaint process audit. This audit entailed 5 different objectives, a total of 11 tests that were conducted. As you can see on table number 1, by and large, the results were positive. However, there was, for objective number 1, 2 tests that were conducted with relation to the packages for the investigators that transferred to internal affairs. And as you can see, the results are 0. And in essence, there's a requirement for a team's evaluation report. This is a very specific report that is required for various other assignments as well, such as gang enforcement details, narcotics enforcement details, and certainly Professional Standards Bureau is one of them as well. And so the specific team's evaluation report was not completed for the investigators that we looked at. Now, this is not to say that the investigators were not vetted prior to coming in. There was a transfer action item that was conducted. The only difference is that the team's evaluation report does require a few extra steps to be taken. And so upon notifying Professional Standards Bureau of this finding, they took immediate action, and Commander Maislin can go ahead and talk about what those actions were.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. A little bit of background. When Deputy Chief McCarthy and I both went to IA in 2013, it was, I think, March for me and May for Chief McCarthy, and we kind of moved the selection process from, we had one officer that was primarily involved in taking care of it and handling everything, although I think when you look at the prior audit, it shows that it wasn't done correctly back in 2010-11 as well. So we took it from one and moved it to others, and I mean, it was an oversight, and we didn't realize that both were required, and we've since fixed the problem. We put a checklist in place where we make sure that we do everything exactly the way it's supposed to be done. But we've also reached out and working with what used to be Planning and Research Policies and Procedures Division, I think it's called now, and to look at streamlining the process, because there is a lot of overlap between the TERs and the TAIs, the evaluation reports and the action items, and it's been looked upon favorably by PPD. So, boy, we can talk in little initials all morning with this. So anyway, it's been looked favorably, and it looks like that change may come about down the road, where if you click on one thing, it allows you to do everything in a one-stop shop, so to speak. But we have been, extremely diligent with making personnel selections to IA. That's something that we look upon with a very, we're just extremely cautious about it, and we look at the background of everybody, and we've, for the positions we've been allowed to fill, we'll even sometimes not make a selection as opposed to selecting the wrong person. So there are times where we feel it's better to go short than to take somebody that we really don't think is going to succeed. So we take it very seriously. We're going to continue to take it very seriously, and the next time around, it's going to be 100%.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really just wanted to hear that explanation, understand both and appreciate how seriously you're taking this, given the importance of the team's reports and the units that you're selecting for, that you solved the immediate problem. And also, I think it's helpful to hear that you're stepping back a little bit and seeing whether you can simplify the process to avoid these kind of issues in the future. I appreciate all of that. Thank you for that.
Any other comments?
We have one comment card, Mr. Prentice Jenkins.
Commissioner, legal. You want to ask what I wanted, Mr. Herrera? You want to ask what I wanted? I'd like to submit this again to the commission. That is a proposal on creating a subcommittee for all of us who come in here and testify. You want to ask me what I wanted, that's it. Let's take a look at this again. Pre-operational planning. Lost it. Anyway,
Getting answers from police over the fatal shooting of an unarmed homeless man near the Venice Boardwalk. Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand was there for tonight's public meeting, and he joins us now live in Venice. Jory.
Michelle, so many people showed up to this town hall. The line was out the door. So many people lined up to speak that the meeting ran more than an hour late. When they tried to cut it off at a certain point, the line crowd nearly to know that it could happen to anybody. Any one of the homeless people out there saying the video does not appear to show. Chief Charlie Beck angered the police union yesterday by saying the video does not appear to show reason to use deadly force. Those at tonight's meeting upset as well. The sad thing is to know that it could happen to anybody.
That's why I want you to stay, Chief. He went against the cops. It's difficult to go against the cops because guess what? Even cops are afraid of cops. You go against the cops, you see what happens to you. This man went up against the cops. In the 70s, he went up against the cops, or the 80s, going undercover and getting bad cops off the force.
There are no other comment cards on this item?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now on item number 9, public comment. We have 20 comment cards. We'll begin with Dwayne Moody, Craig Lilly, Gary Ingrenson, TJ Tarjamo, Mr. Hunt, who's no longer here.
Would the people whose names were just called, if you would line up behind each other so we can do this as efficiently as possible. Good morning.
Warm greetings. Honorable Steve Soberoff, President of the Los Angeles Board Police Commission, ruling on the use of force by Newton Division officers of Ezel Ford. Dear Commission President Soberoff, on behalf of the Ezel Ford family, please accept our sincere gratitude for your courage to find the death of their son, that fatal night on August 11, 2014, was in violation of the Los Angeles Police Department policy. Your courage is demonstrated in this decision as it marks a rare occasion in the commission history that it has ruled against the Los Angeles Police Department regarding an officer use of force in line of duty. Your willingness, abbreviated, extremely difficult and precedent setting to review this matter, the context of the complete narrative regarding the sequence of the event that set the horrendous circumstance in motion which led to the tragic and senseless death of their son was nothing short of remarkable. You therefore commended your great courage in the face of status quo expectation. Our hope that the prayers is that authentic community policing will become the new norm in the Los Angeles City community. To the citizen, and especially those who suffer mental health and challenges, are treated with the dignity and respect they are entitled to and deserve, regardless of the neighborhood in which they reside in. Respectfully submitted, Goodwill Ambassador Dwayne Moody, representation of the Ezell Ford family. Thank you.
Mr. Craig Lilly.
Morning.
Morning.
As president of the board of directors of Los Angeles Police Protective League, I'm here today to speak on nearly 10,000 members and express our shock and outrage at the decision made by the commission of the finding of one of our officers involved in the shooting of a known gang member, Ezell Ford, out of policy. This decision and the faulty reasoning behind it.
Excuse me, Mr. Lally, pause just a moment. We'll give you your time. Please take your seats. I'm going to, before we proceed, I'm going to read again the rules that are in operation. You will be asked to leave if you do not take your seat and keep quiet. Mr. Lally, please give me a moment. There were some people who weren't here at the beginning when we established. All right, so listen to me, please. I'd like to remind all that the time limit to speak on any item is 2 minutes. If you are speaking on an item other than general public comment, please keep your comments on the topic of the item. If you go off topic, I will ask you to get back on topic. If you do not do so, you will forfeit the remainder of your time on that item. Please be respectful of each speaker's comments and adhere to the 2-minute time limit. The commission does want to hear your comments. However, I will maintain order and ask that you respect each other in this commission. I request that there be... Excuse me. I'm going to finish, and please keep quiet until I finish, okay? I request that there be no applause or yelling out during comments of speakers or during the meeting. If the meeting becomes disruptive, I will call a recess, and those who are disruptive will be escorted out of the meeting so we can resume for those who are not being disruptive. Now, I hope everybody understands what that means. The behavior that we just saw today and every day going forward, we're not tolerating that. No one will speak while you're speaking. If the commission has a question or comments to make while you are speaking, we will stop the clock so that you do not lose any percentage of your 2 minutes. Mr. Lally, please proceed.
This decision and the faulty reasoning behind it was irresponsible and the potential of putting our officers at risk. I found the comments made over the weekend by Police Commissioner Madison on NBC Colin Nolan show both disturbing and insulting. Commissioner Madison attempting to equate a perceived change in the law regarding Hayes, compared it to slavery or women's voting rights, is equally insulting. That comparison had nothing to do with the situation of Ezell Ford, a known gang member. In choosing to illustrate changes in the law with the examples from a very, very different time, your language can easily be seen as demeaning to today's police officers. I hope that you and the others on this police commission will agree with me that that kind of thinking and language has no place on the police commission. Also, when asked by Mr. Colin, and I quote, Mr. Nolan's show, had Mr. Ford successfully taken away an officer's gun and shot both officers dead, this action would still be in policy. You replied, it's possible. That can only hope that that Commissioner Madison was confused by that question. Does she really believe that the deaths of 2 police officers at the hand of a known gang member would took one of their guns would be blamed by the officers themselves? If the commission continues to go down this road, even when an officer makes a mistake on reasonable suspicion, their lives will be forfeited.
Mr. Gary Ingmanson?
In about 30 seconds, we're going to recess. All right, sister. What I'm telling you is that you are going to keep quiet while other people are speaking, or we're going to clear the room. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gary Ingemanson, Independent Counsel for the Los Angeles Police Protective League. I'd like to make just 2 points. First, this Sunday, Commissioner Madison appeared on NBC4 News conference program. She was asked as to what should happen to these police officers. She stated, quote, "What I can say to you is that the decision about discipline or not is 100% up to the chief. However, annually the Police Commission reviews the performance of the police chief. I will leave it there," unquote. That sounds very much like a veiled threat, and that is improper. What is correct about the statement is that the discipline is 100% up to the police chief. The Police Commission gets to determine whether a use of force is administratively disapproved, but only the chief of police can impose discipline. This is the American system of government, checks and balances in action. That decision should be made free of political inference. The chief should be considering the facts, not his rating report. Second, the Commission failed to follow its own use of force policy in determining that Officer A's use of force was out of policy by considering what it termed a, quote, legally inappropriate detention, unquote. The Inspector General's report, entitled Review of Categorical Use of Force Policy, February 2014, on page 18, when discussing the adjudication of tactics, says this, quote, "The OIG also notes that this classification does not encompass evaluation of pre-shooting decisions that do not fall into the category of tactics, including, for instance, decisions regarding the legality of detentions or searches," unquote. Graham versus Connor is the proper standard. Imposing California tort law on a constitutional principle is unwise and unnecessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm TJ Tarima with the Los Angeles Police Protective League. For 17 years, I was in patrol with the LAPD before I was elected to the board of the LAPPL. I'm still in regular and close contact with the men and women of patrolling Los Angeles every day. Many of them have reached out to me since the Commission's finding. Let me assure you, the mood among these brave officers is grim. They now go to work with the notion that each and every action they take will be scrutinized after the fact to see whether or not it is in policy. What exactly could that mean? I'll tell you. You essentially have told us in no uncertain terms that when police officers observe possible criminal activity with prior knowledge of the area, the actors, and the crime trends, this no longer warrants them to investigate it. What you have done is ignored widely accepted and approved police investigative practices and protocol that will only result in greatly reduced observational investigative work and therefore erode public safety. Now officers can no longer apply the behaviors and criminal activities of the past as rationale to intervene in situations clearly unfolding in front of them. Excuse me for being blunt, but this is crazy. The Chief has stepped in on our behalf, and for that we are grateful. Thank you, Chief. The Commission's role is to implement recommended reforms to improve service to the public by the Department and to reduce crime and the fear of crime. How can we possibly carry out our mission with the new set of rules that you have created? And the violent act of attempting to take a police officer's gun away is no longer considered an egregious and life-threatening situation because they never should have stopped the suspect in the first place. By basing your ruling on the totality of circumstances, you have essentially stripped every cop of their experience, instincts, and knowledge of an individual's criminal past, knowledge of the community, and criminal activity. What this boils down to is simple. We are being asked to fight crime, but only if it fits your agenda. This is crazy, disappointing, disgraceful, and it is wrong. And every cop is going to rethink when and if they intervene in dangerous situations ever again.
Thank you, Mr.
You have made the city that much more unsafe, and your names will go down in infamy. The clock was 1:50.
I accidentally stopped it, so I We started it, and it's time.
Your names will go down in infamy as a police commission that hamstrung a great police force in its mission to serve and to protect the
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next 5 speakers, Carl Williams, Mr. Herman, Jasmine Richards, Brandy Brown, and Dwayne Smith.
Could the next 5 speakers please line up?
Carl Williams.
Is Carl Williams present?
Carl Williams.
I just want to stare at you, police chief.
My name is Carl Williams. I live in South Central Los Angeles. I want to bring attention to the complicity of business owners in the community of these mom and pop stores with drug dealers that allow drug dealers to stop people in the stores, deal in the stores, outside the stores, around the stores, harassing the customers day in and day out. And if you don't believe me, you can go right to Vernon and Western and you'll see it in action 24 hours a day. The police come over there. They're not necessarily stopping and frisking, but they have a new tactic. What they do is walk up to somebody and pat them down, and if they don't have anything, then they leave. This is sneaky and undercurrent and a way to circumvent the laws that are on the books, and it's got to stop. And I agree with Mr. Prentice that we do need a subcommittee because we need a body of civilians that are closer to the community. Because although the Los Angeles Police Commission is doing a good job overall, their tentacles are not reaching far enough within the community. And again, back to the business owners in the community, they need to be held accountable. They have turned over all authority over to the police department so that the police could prosecute somebody that commits a crime on their property, and the business owner does not even have to be present or file anything. So this has opened up an atmosphere for these business owners to allow drug dealing inside of their places of business. And this has got to stop. We are tired of it. And we do need the Police Protective League and the Los Angeles Police Commission and the police department to all be working in concert. And we don't need thinly veiled threats by the Police Protective League saying that they're going to close up their windows.
Your 2 minutes is up, sir. Thank you.
Thank
you. Jasmine Richards with Black Lives Matter. I just want to start off by saying, Ms. Paula Madison, thank you for showing courage, because I know it takes a lot to break that blue wall of silence that nobody else could do, but it took a lot, you know what I mean, and thank you for that. I'm not going to come up here with any statistics or anything. I'm just going to talk directly to you, Chief Charlie Beck. My mom always told me a snake in the garden, in the grass, can't look at you in the face. And you cannot look at us. You know you're wrong, you're ashamed. You stand by the boys in blue. You stand by them killing us and murdering us off, so that means you're against us. And we're going to do anything in our power to shut you down. Look at my eyes right now. This is a movement and not a moment, because we're coming after you. We want you gone, and you're going to be gone. This has to stop, and it's going to stop now. You think that we're just going to keep taking this, sir? You think, sir, that's too much for him. Excuse me, I'm taking that back. Retract that. You're not a sir. You're scum between my toes. You're no good. They keep calling us gang members, but you're the Klan. You're the Grand Poobah. You're the dude that heads the Klan. You're running around making our kids scared. The kids don't want to be policemen no more. They're scared. When the kids in my neighborhood, when they see the police, they run. They say, Mama, there go the police. And they run because of you. because of people like you. So know when you sleep at night that my ancestors, they coming after you. They coming after all y'all who do not stand up for Ezell Ford. He was not a gang member. He was a young man. He was a young man. He was somebody's baby, somebody's son. I'm going to reiterate that. What if it was your child? Because y'all got children, and every man has to pay their day. I'm angry. I'm really upset with you guys, and you're going to do the right thing because God is going to make you do the right thing. Chief Beck, you coming down. We all, look at all these young people in here. We coming after you, homie. Don't trip, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it just like that, all right? Look at my eyes. Black, prouder. Too black, too strong.
May we have the next speaker?
So, hi. My name is Brandy Brown. I'm from the Youth Justice Coalition. I want to first say, sitting in this audience, hearing him say Ezell was a gangbanger, that ain't true. Y'all know that. We know that. So I want to say that first. The LAPD must, they should release data when a cop kills someone. My whole train of thought is messed up right now. They should release data when... You know, I just feel like this bullshit. Time after time, every Tuesday, we come out here and we tell y'all how we really feel and what we go through. Y'all don't go through none of the shit we go through. As being young, y'all don't know what we face with daily, and then we have to deal with other bullshit on top of what y'all put us through. Charlie Beck, come on, man. We done asked for meetings with you to try to fix this out. This shit is fucked up, and we raising our kids in this predicament. We cannot keep doing this. I don't want to see my baby dead. I don't want to see no other people dead behind no bullshit. We losing our lives. It's sad. Half of the people I grew up with, they either dead or in jail. Like, what is this world coming to? Y'all can't give us no answers. Like, please, like, look at me in my face. Can you please give us a meeting? Can you give me something? You see my tears. You see my hurt. I'm not hiding this shit. Like, what can you say? What can you do? Can you give me something? Like, I'm asking you. I'm here for my friend. My friend was killed. He was minding his business, walking home, not messing with a soul. And you want to know how I know that? Because I seen him walking. He wasn't messing with nobody. Them polices that pulled him over, them bitches was just fucking with people that day.
The next 5 speakers, Kim McGill, Davon Williams, Tanisha Denard, Michelle, and Melina Abdullah.
Ma'am.
My name is Kim McGill from the Youth Justice Coalition. I want everybody who's here from the Youth Justice Coalition to please stand, because what I'm saying really, a lot of the credit goes to them.
Excuse me.
When the LAPD...
Excuse me, stand for a moment and then please take your seat again. No, you cannot continue to stand in the meeting room. You have to take a seat.
I just want recognition for the fact that young people had to dig for numbers about who was being killed by LAPD and other law enforcement departments, because law enforcement departments in LA County...
Please take your seats.
...refused to release the data. We now know that this data has spread nationwide and worldwide with the most recent report from The Guardian, but even The Guardian's data is not as accurate as the young people found going through the coroner's office. We have 626 people killed by law enforcement in LA County. We now know that LAPD and LA County sheriffs are number 1 in those killings. We know that just this year alone, Brendan Glenn, Ezell Ford, Charlie Cunang, Andrew Valdez, Luis Martinez, Jonathan Eragon, Robert Rodriguez, Victor Terrazas, Leroy Hill, Pablo Mesa, David Scott Walker, Josue Fuentes, and Jorge Trejo were most likely killed by LAPD. But we can't prove it because we can't get data from you just because we have an address of what division was responsible, what officers were responsible, whether or not the use of force was found as quote-unquote justifiable, although we know always it is. We know that in addition to that even though LA County's population is 9% black, 28% of the people killed by law enforcement are African American. That 47% of LA County's population is Latino, but 53% of those killed by law enforcement are Latino. We know that 53% are under the age of 30, meaning all these young men here standing have targets on their backs, and that's why they walk in fear. We know that even though the community has worked hard to bring homicides down, that our homicide rate in LA County is now at its lowest levels, including LAPD divisions, its lowest level since the 1950s. Police use of force resulting in homicide is up. In 2000, between 2 to 3% of the homicides in LA County could be attributed to police use of force. Since 2010 to 2015, 7 to 8% of the homicides in LA County, including LA City, are attributed to use of force. So while community violence is down, law enforcement violence is up. And those of us in this community that knew Ezell Ford, Brandy grew up on his block and knew him personally, we knew he had a mental condition. We knew he was not involved in the neighborhood. We know that those same officers stopped him on Friday just before they killed him and had a gun to his head. We know that they never called the PET team or any other mental health team. We know that it's 7 times LAPD has been called out to the scene where someone was going to commit suicide and they end up killing the person that they're called to save. You have to protect and serve everyone. And if there is an alleged gang member, they also deserve dignity and respect. No one should be shot in their back. No one should be shot because they quote unquote reach for their waistband.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Davon Williams, here with Youth Justice Coalition. I'm here to demand that the police be held accountable for community members that they have killed and harmed physically and emotionally. The system continues, such as yourselves and District Attorney Jackie Lacey, continues to not acknowledge the community. And DA Jackie Lacey continues to show that through her actions that she has not charged the officer who has killed Ezell Ford, the young, innocent man. We demand a copy of your contract, memorandum, understanding, and or document that outlines the agreement made between LA County Office and the DA of each county law enforcement agencies, including a listing of the agencies entered into this agreement. The district attorney will not investigate law enforcement use of force until the internal investigation by law enforcement agency is completed. Families continue to suffer. Community continues to suffer. I have suffered. My cousin has been killed by law enforcement, and nothing ever happened to it. I know plenty of people in our family, my family, in this community, and no one seems to be held accountable. We come up here week after week, time after time, meeting after meeting, and nothing fucking happens. Do something.
Hi, my name's Tanisha Denard. I'm with the Youth Justice Coalition. We submitted a public act request that you guys still have not replied on. This is nothing but show that you guys continue to protect the officers in their position in the department. You claim that officers are reacting within guidelines of the department. Well, it must be a coincidence that it happened 526 times. 526 people that have been deprived of being protected and served. Yeah, you claim the violence is increasing. What about the violence increasing in the department of the people that are supposed to protect us? The people who are supposed to protect us. How can we tell our brothers, sisters, or friends, or anybody to look up to you guys when they're in trouble, when they're liable to get shot and waving you guys down? I urge you guys to respond once again to our data request so that officers can get held accountable for their actions just as anyone else would. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Melina Abdullah. I'm an organizer with Black Lives Matter. And I want to first say that was absolutely despicable what the Police Protective League just did. To routinely engage in behavior that assassinates the character of someone that they murdered after they killed him is despicable. And I hope that you think about who the Police Protective League is before you're moved by what it is they have to say. I also am appalled by their lack of respect for the commission. I want to say that we were very surprised. Many of us were here last week. We were very surprised and encouraged by your willingness to be an independent police commission. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate that you, Commissioner Madison, took the time to explain to us what was happening after it had happened. And I want to uphold or lift up the demands, the immediate demands that we have as Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. First, we want you to fire Chief Beck. So we have 3 demands. We want you to fire Chief Beck. We know you have the power to do that, especially after the video message that he released to his officers immediately following the issuance of your findings, which basically set aside your findings and said they have no relevance. He said, I support support you, the mayor supports you, and that support will protect you like the vest that you wear. That is the blue wall that Jasmine was talking about. Second, we want a reparations policy, and we know that you're not necessarily the body to do that, but I want you to know the demand. And then the third demand that you have the power to help with is help to create open dialogue and engagement with the community. That hasn't happened, and that's one of the reasons why there was some uncertainty about what that outcome was last week. So we want you to engage in that dialogue. And we'll be here. We're going to continue to be here. It's our job to be here. We are the outside community that you represent. So we hope that you'll engage in an open and welcoming manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, good morning. My name is Michelle, and I'm here because I'm just here to address my deep disappointment on the injustices of the Ezo Ford case. I've been to the police commission meetings to dozens of times, and LAPD keeps saying they are making progress with the community, that they want reconciliation, transparency with the South LA community, and now LAPD files no formal charges or discipline against officers Wampler and Villegas who took Ezo Ford's life. They basically let him go free after evidence and autopsy reports on Ezo Ford were labeled homicide. Why does LAPD continue to lie and violate the trust of the South LA community? Chief Beck, I know a lot of people are asking a lot of you, but the main thing that I would like to see is you get rid of all the bad apples, all the bad officers, because if you keep the spoiled apples too long, they'll spoil the good ones. And if you get rid of those bad officers, that will be some type of progress for the community. Youth Justice Coalition released a report called Shoot to Kill, which collected data on officer-involved shootings. And the sum of that report basically said that Los Angeles Police Department kills more people, more of its civilians than any other place in the United States. And so the police, LAPD, you guys denied it. So now we're trying to give you a chance. Hey, give us some data. Give us the data that proves what we have is not true. Give us the data that switches the numbers or updates our numbers. And also a newspaper in England, The Guardian, released an article confirming that Los Angeles Police Department kills more of its civilians than any other place in the United States. We need to see change. If nobody can fire any officers or get any officers indicted, we need a new chief of police. Thank you.
Okay, with the final 6 comment cards, Tanae Kishan, Ebony Childs, Prentice Jenkins, Michael Williams, and Paul Shirley. I also have an Ebony Love. I'm not sure if that's the same as Ebony Childs.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Tanae. I'm here with National Action Network. I just think it's unfortunate that bad cops give good cops a bad name. I think the police department needs to change its perception of the Black and Hispanic community and stop profiling and bullying citizens. I think the department needs a cultural reform. I think when an officer can lawfully use excessive force needs to be redefined. It appears that officers do more shooting than they do protecting and serving. There are other methods of disarming a person without shooting and killing them. People in this community are either afraid of police officers or they hate them. I want to start seeing officers held accountable for police misconduct and killings of unarmed people. I want justice for Ezo Ford. Police officers need to build relationships with the community that they serve and stop treating us like enemies of the state. We all have a right to life, and we want to go home to our families just like you do. Thank you.
Ebony Childs.
For 30 seconds, I want to quickly look at Hayes versus the Supreme Court, which pretty much was the arbiter for the commission's decision. And I want to lift that for a second only because I'm actually happy today, which is very rare in the midst of this group, but because, Charlie Beck, your time is soon coming to an end. Because now Hayes versus Supreme Court says you have to look at the actions of the total circumstance. And if something's not done to discipline those officers or correctly train those officers, the person in charge is the next person who is to be looked at. So, Charlie Beck, your days are numbered. And for that, I am excited. I'm excited to kick that door wide open and they toss your white ass right on out of here. So I'm excited for Hayes versus Supreme Court. And then secondly, Paula Madison, you said something on Channel 4 yesterday that was disturbing. One, you said it wasn't no public pressure. Remind you, it was public pressure that created this police commissioner. It was public pressure that gave Ezell Ford a name for whence you had to give a decision for. So when you say that it wasn't us doing anything, LAPD would not have given Ezell Ford a name. They would have killed him in spite of what the public was trying to do for him. So I want to correct you on that, number one. And then last but not least, I always like to give these illustrations before I leave the desk. Detective Gabriel, are you ready? I want to donate towards the retirement of Chief Beck. I think he's going to have a long road ahead of him. And so I just want to just throw some money out there. In the city of Atlanta.
Thank you.
They say make it rain. And before I leave this great state and as Chief Beck leaves this place, I want to make it rain. Who's the next speaker? I got some change in my pocket.
Who's the next speaker?
I just want to make it rain as you retire.
Excuse me, sir. Step aside and let Mr.
There it is, Doc. There's your money.
All right, step away. Mr. Jenkins, you're next.
Okay.
DemocracyNow.org, the War and Peace Report. We are on the road in Denver, Colorado. We're broadcasting from Free Speech TV. Colorado is one of a handful of states where hundreds of firefighters, paramedics, police, and even corporate employees are being trained to hunt down and report a broadly defined range of suspicious activities. They're called terrorism liaison officers. A federally supported initiative trains them to look out for, quote, observed behavior that may be indicative of intelligence gathering or pre-operational planning related to terrorism.
Woodward and Bernstein, journalists, or you Kim Kardashian, tabloids? Woodward and Bernstein would have asked what that was. Tabloid journalists would have asked, what is Kim Kardashian wearing today? Which ones are you? That's the question. Which ones are you? You people were the ones that stopped the police abuse. Not the cops, you. But now you're running after Kim Kardashian and her big ass. How sad is that? You bring your cameras in here and you do nothing but film this stuff. These people have created a shadow government. You just heard it. You did nothing about it. You say nothing about it. The shame is on you. Because whenever you put your cameras on them, things get done. And you won't put your cameras on them, then you go back and eat lunch. I want to applaud all these young people. Because 50-something years ago, those young people were on that bridge in Selma. Yeah, they were on that bridge in Selma. This is where it gets started. It jumps off right here with the young people. So the question is, media, what the hell are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to go back and eat lunch? I heard Kim Kardashian's got a new haircut.
Michael Williams.
I want to talk to the commission because I don't care about Charlie Beck because his time is up. I thank you guys for finding with the family of Ezell. I thank you for what you guys did. It was a big step towards getting justice for Ezell. But a person that is sitting on your commission, right after you made that decision, decided that he was going to undermine your decision. He made a video to say that he supports the police. He supports corruption. He supports murderers. How could you have this man on your commission when he literally, after you made your decision, immediately undermined it? I implore you to get rid of this man. He doesn't need to be on this commission. He doesn't need to be the chief of police. All these people here don't want him to be chief of police, okay? You look up and you see to protect and to serve. He is not protecting that community. They don't feel served by him. So why is he chief if he's not living out the creed that is on your very walls? They don't feel protected or served by Chief Charlie Beck. And why is he here on your commission when he undermines you guys? Thank you.
Okay, I'm following Mr. What names are they? I don't have any of those.
So I'll fill them out right now. Again, I'll fill them out again right now.
Okay.
Richard, you can wait a little bit. It's okay. You can have your lunch later on, right? Because people are dying, right? It's okay. Bottom line is, a lot of things ran through my head before I came up here to speak. The chilling video that Charlie Beck put out last week is something that honestly keeps on ringing through my mind. I keep thinking about just how little of the democratic values, right, that this commission represents are embodied in his comments, his actions, his life's work. And obviously we have to fire this man. I mean, that's not really a question. But then, I wanted to say fire Beck, but now it's like I gotta speak to Ezell Ford a little bit here, because the folks that represent these officers, the people with guns in here, the people that make me feel as unsafe as I've felt in a while, right? Being surrounded by this, that Protective League decided to slander a man who was killed by your officers, shot in the back 3 times. You feel me? You don't feel me. Why am I talking to you? Bottom line is, we're looking at a young man who cannot speak for himself, right? He's dead. We have family, we have loved ones in this room, and somehow, because Black lives don't matter to this police department, somehow you think that you can paint him with some sort of bullshit gang brush, and then you can just kill him justifiably. You could kill him justifiably. He wasn't a gang member, we know that. But if he was, does that justify killing him? It sounds like what your Protective League has said is that it does. It sounds like what they said was a gang member is an animal who deserves to die. A gang member is a human being. A gang member is somebody who serves their community and has family in their own way. A gang member can change and make a whole lot more positive happen than you have ever made happen in your life, Charlie Beck. Fire Charlie Beck. Fire Charlie Beck. Fire half the officers in this room. The blue wall of silence has to come down. It has to come down now.
Your 2 minutes is up. Thank you.
Najee Ali.
I'm Najee Ali with the National Action Network. I spoke earlier, and I was actually finished, but I felt very passionate about adding a comment on public record, especially after what Craig Lally and the Police Protective League did as far as slandering the name of Ezell Ford. And for the last few days, I've seen Craig Lally and the Police Protective League slander police commissioners and their community activists who've done nothing but try to stand up for social justice. So I think that type of leadership that Craig Lally is using is something that divides the community even more. It's inflammatory, it's slanderous, and I think we should all reject it as a community and as a city, because obviously, for whatever reason, he uses the politics of fear, slander, and intimidation. It's wrong, and we need to speak up and speak out against it whenever it happens. So I want to make sure that I'm on record saying at the end of the day, whatever problems Ezell Ford may have had, he was not a gang member. He did not deserve to die. And I think at the end of the day, we're here because Ezell Ford can't speak for himself, but we're certainly not going to let Craig Lally and the Police Protective League slander him create fear and intimidation amongst any commissioner that voted their conscience, our community member who tries to do what's right for the community. So thank you for my time.
Okay, we did receive the last 5 comment cards. Eddie Flores, Abraham Colunga, Francisco Martinez, Jose Gallegos, and Dwayne Smith.
All right, my name's Eddie Flores. I've been here plenty of times, coming here, to the police commission meetings. Sometimes I go ahead and I think to myself, is this even worth of my time going ahead and coming and asking for the same things that we always come here and ask for this data? We want these officers to go ahead and get indicted. I have a brother that's 5-year-old and he has cancer. He's going through leukemia, and he has to go every Tuesday. And each time I go ahead and I think to myself, do I go ahead, either I take care of my brothers, or do I go ahead and come over here? And now I have my little brother right over there sitting down. It's not the first time I brought him. This is the 3rd time that I brought him, because I choose to go ahead and come and do something. We need officers to actually go ahead and get indicted. The ones that are always going ahead and going in the streets, going ahead and shooting young people like myself. Each time I go ahead and I see an officer, I actually fear for my life. I don't know if my life's going to be taken away. My mom always tells me, don't watch out for the people that stay in the neighborhood. Watch out instead for the officers, because they're going ahead and they're shooting young people like yourself every day. So yeah, I have a choice to go ahead and either come here or actually stay home. But I actually choose to come and stay here and actually do something. Because if I'm not going to do it, you're not going to do it, who else is going to do it? We need something new, man. This same old bullshit ain't going to keep on going through it, man. So go ahead and actually do something. Get off your ass, man, because I am doing it too. I have problems too, but I'm here doing it. So there ain't no excuses. Come up with something new.
Hello, my name is Francisco Martinez. I'm here with the Justice Coalition as well. What to say really that hasn't really been said here many times before me, and probably gonna be said again ahead of me. Just cause I'm tearing it up doesn't mean I'm a fucking gang member. I could be doing positive shit. My mom tells me, why are you going there? Why you go there? It's a long battle. Who knows if you're going to win? And I say, I'm ready to take that risk and to waste my time and put effort into it to fucking try to make a difference in my community. Because honestly, every time I do see an officer, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to go this way. I'm not going to go that way because I see them down the street. So before I even come in my house, I see a patrol passing by, the sheriff department, LAPD, where I don't give a fuck which one it is. I'm like, I'm going to go back to my house and see when they pass by and they're gone. Like, there's so many. You don't guys feel like he right here. Like, there's so much like passionate in towards what we trying to do. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, you guys are just bushing too much. I swear. Like, even y'all sure send officers that do doing bad things and killing people to prison, because what are we teaching the youth that just because you have a fucking badge, that means that it gives you the fucking right to fucking kill a young innocent person? Like, I don't know what to tell my little nephew once he grows up. Like, hey, check it out. When you see law enforcement, come back inside the house. Don't even try to go to school. I would like to live the day to see an officer actually come approach me, or approach my family members, or somebody in my community, say, check it out. Is everything right in your house? Do you have enough food? Do you have enough resources to go to school, to get to school, to have transportation to go to school, or even to at least take some moment of their time and say, are you having a nice day?
Good morning. My name is Abraham Colunga. I'm a peace builder and an organizer with the Youth Justice Coalition. And we have been here time after time, so I'm here just in regards of the use of force data that we did ask for May 11th, and we haven't got no response to. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I got 6 kids and one on the way, right? My oldest being 11. The one in the middle wanted to become a cop. And I work hard for them not to be or follow in my footsteps. But it's funny that my 5-year-old asked me, how come the cops keep coming out of the news? How come the cops keep coming on the news? Why they keep killing people? So now I got to work hard and make sure they don't follow in you guys' footsteps. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Dewan Smith from Youth Justice Coalition and Black Lives Matter Long Beach. I want to say that it's now declared that police violence is a national issue, and that it seems like it's a civil war on the low-income community with the police and the community. And those two headlines right there are disturbing. But I want to talk about a document that Youth Justice Coalition submitted March and April 14th, and I think May. We had the families come together, families of victims of police brutality, and come up with alternatives or things that they feel like they have rights to. So we call it the Family Bill of Rights. So I'm going to read off a couple. To maintain fairness and withhold judgment, and after incidents, do not discredit the victim, like call him a gang member while it's under investigation. Most times they say that he had a gun or he went for their gun, and it's under investigation. So we feel like, and the families feel like, you shouldn't put out that type of language if you haven't finished the investigation. So that's one. To reach out to the family immediately after the shooting or incident. Most times families figure out that their loved member is dead based off a headline on the news or a neighbor, and we feel like the police should contact the family right after that happens. Do not withhold funding for the family, so help with funeral and burial costs if wrongdoings are shown. After all use of force results in serious injuries and death, hold community meetings within 2 weeks. That it's open to family members, and intervention workers, clergy, and community-based organizations to air community concerns and answer questions. To admit and apologize publicly when law enforcement actions are wrong, like in a press conference. Make it clear to the community and enforce within departments of official deputies. And you have this document. I'm just reading off a couple of good ideas that I feel like you guys should implement. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jose Gallegos, the Youth Justice Coalition, and just to that video. With that video, what it tells me, or not me, but members from the community, young people that you label gang members, when you say that the vast majority of the city of LA supports you, you support them, the mayor support them, that's like telling me you're giving them a green light to kill, right? So when we step up and do something, now we got action. Now you guys got action to really kill. And in regards to the comment that was said about a gang member, it's crazy. I ain't seen this lady in about 9 years. Miss Fuzz was my biology teacher right here, out of the school that I got pushed out of. And she knows damn well when I was in high school, I had no tattoos, none. Got kicked out of school for something stupid. Disenrolled, not even kicked out, disenrolled. For something that was going on at home with my parents. That's when I got introduced to the stupid-ass LA County jail system, and the tattoos and that lifestyle came about. So you mean to tell me, because of these tattoos, I'm labeled a gang member? And you're going to shoot me and kill me? Answer my question. Don't look stupid, answer my question. Because you said you answer questions. Can you answer my question? You look stupid, huh? Like Eddie said, sometimes I don't even know why I even come here, right? What's the point? What's the point of coming here? When all you do is run the fucking time down and look at me stupid in my eyes. Yeah, you look agitated right now. Like you want to reach for your gun and you want to shoot me? Huh? Tired of coming down here for nothing. But I'd rather come down here than just be sitting on my ass like you are. That's all you do is sit on your ass and try to make your department look good.
This concludes our public comment period. We are now on item number 10, closed session. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A, 1, and 2 in accordance with Government Code 54957. Testing. Okay, are we ready? We are back in open session. In closed session, item number 10A1 was discussed and the chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. And in closed session, item number 10A2 was discussed and the chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. Commissioner, is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nina. This is my daughter Miranda, and we live in Silver Lake. We love the cultural diversity of Los Angeles. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
This is John Clayton standing in front of a classic World War II aircraft called a B-17. This particular B-17 is called Aluminum Overcast, and she is from the EAA based back in